Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Let's Talk. I'm your host, Denise Rolark Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer. You know, it always happens. I hear our own theme song. It gets me rocking. I forget I've got a show to do. But at any rate, so glad that you're here to join us. We are looking forward to having a great conversation today. I hope everybody's well and enjoying the adjusting to the time difference. You know, we pushed our clocks. No, we turned our clocks back last Sunday, and for me, it's actually good to wake up in the morning and see the sun out at 6:30 as opposed to it being dark. So it's working for me, and I hope it's working for you all. And you know, it's getting crisp. The leaves are falling from the trees, and now we got to go out and rake them and wait for people to come to pick them up. But you know, that's fall. That's all of what we go through, especially here in the DMV. We all know the routine, and you know, we just adjust as we go. So I'm excited to be with you today. We're going to have I think, a pretty good show. I'm looking forward to talking about food with Davon Moseley. He's the renowned culinary creator, foodie, and businessman, better known as Royal Eats, redefining the meaning of home cooked, just in time for his next book. Actually, that came out this week. It's called Let's Get Into It. It was released on Tuesday. And so he will be doing a book signing here in DC, but we've got him here with us today. If you haven't been to his Instagram or other social media pages, I wouldn't advise you to go right now because you'll be starving by the time the show is over. So just hold tight. Let's talk to him. And I'm looking so forward to doing that. And then following our conversation with Davon, we're going to have Sam P.K. Collins, who just recently released from the Washington Informer's pages, the Collins DC Council report. And Sam has been following the DC City Council. You know, they voted on some critical issues this week. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But we feel as though it's also our responsibility as a DC-based community local newspaper to share with our viewers what may be coming up next year. And that is this whole topic of ranked choice voting. The council and actually voters in the District of Columbia approved ranked choice voting in a referendum earlier, I think it was this year. And so it may be the way we end up voting for candidates next year. And there's a whole, as Sam likes to say, a whole bevy of candidates that are coming up in 2026. But what does this mean if the Board of Elections decides to launch ranked choice voting in June when our primaries take place? So Sam's going to launch us into that conversation, and we will proceed with that and have other conversations about that along the way, because a lot of folks have questions. Even folks that voted for it have questions. So I look forward to starting that conversation with him. And then finally, we're going to reshare a pre-recorded conversation we had about a community event that's one you don't want to miss. And that is the Dancing with the Scholars, which will be taking place in Ward 8 on Saturday, November the 8th. And we'll be talking, you'll see that interview with Wanda Lockridge, who is the president of the William O. Lockridge Foundation, and learn about the program and what it funds and, you know, why it's worth supporting that program. So I think we're going to have a pretty good show. At least I feel good. I feel hungry, waiting to talk to Davon. But before we start our conversations, I want you viewers to make sure you pick up a copy of the most recent issue of the Washington Informer, available on newsstands now. So you should be able to get a copy any place in the city. We're over around 600 locations. So make sure you pick up a copy. And if you can't get the printed copy, you know, you can access the digital edition anytime, anywhere by visiting our website at washingtoninformer.com. And while you're there, consider becoming a subscriber. Now, there's two ways. Yes, Jamon is putting that up. To become a subscriber to receive our weekly e-newsletter and other updates and daily news content, all we need is your email address, nothing else. So you can stick your email address in there. Of course, if you want the print edition, we also mail those to folks. So there's another way you can subscribe for that. online, so you can just go ahead and click your choice. There is a cost, but whatever you do, you are supporting the Washington Informer. So we hope that you will continue to do this and that you value the content, the news, the information that we try to share with you each and every week. And I would just say that, we're not only here on YouTube, but you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I understand we're somewhere. I keep saying we're on Nextdoor, but if we're not, we're going to make sure that that happens this week because, it's that community news that we really want to tap into and be a part of. But you can follow us on all of the social channels, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Washington Informer TV. No spaces, just Washington Informer TV, where you can catch some of the older versions of Let's Talk episodes if you've missed out. So we hope that you will do one of all the things I've asked you to do. We hope that you'll do that because we certainly will appreciate it. So we're going to jump on into our show right now because excuse me if I'm drooling, but that's because I just went to Davon Moseley's Instagram page and looked at his recipes. And as I said before, he is a renowned culinary creator, foodie, and businessman known as Royal Eats. And so, Davon, I want to get you to jump in and tell us a little bit about yourself.
For sure, for sure. Well, first, thank you for having me. It's definitely a blessing to be here, and have this opportunity here with you also. Thank you. I definitely appreciate it.
My pleasure.
For sure. A little bit about myself. Grew up in the Washington, D.C. I don't know why I can't talk this morning.
Yeah.
Metropolitan area.
Yeah.
Grew up here. But my family roots are in North Carolina, in Scholar Neck, North Carolina. A small town, very humble, but full of love, and I got to witness, my family make a ton of food, and I got to eat a ton of food, but I enjoyed the process of, watching my family in the kitchen, making food and bringing people together, and I feel like that love just, spread onto me. And I found myself, just naturally wanting to be creative in the kitchen. And, over the years, now we're here.
At what point, Devon, did that, did that interest in cooking, when did it start?
I'll say probably around 8, 9-ish, around that time. Like I said, just always watching my family in the kitchen. But my dad, he had showed me how to make, my first dish, which was spaghetti. I feel like a lot of people ate spaghetti a lot, and still do to this day. But for him to take the time to show me how to make it and explain, why that's such an important dish, something that's cost efficient and that can last you, like little things like that, meant a lot to me. So I try to approach every recipe that I look at, and understand the purpose of why it's being made, the occasion of why it's being made, and just those little details, always, pique my curiosity and got me involved with food.
I want to tell you a funny story because you're right. That's the first meal my father taught me how to make was spaghetti, and he's from Texas. And
Mm,
I never knew when I started eating spaghetti as an adult, I never knew why it wasn't all mixed up.
hmm
Saying, a lot of people mix the pasta and then they put the sauce on the top and that's how they eat it. My father's like, no, this is Mexican spaghetti. This is the way we make it. And so I thought all spaghetti was made like that
Yeah,
until, I got older. So, I mean, it's, how do you make yours? I'm just curious.
I mix all mine together. So
Yeah.
that's what I do
Okay.
mine. Yeah, I mix mine together. But I know people that make the pasta and get the sauce and put the sauce on top, eat it like that. But I like everything already mixed together.
I hear you. Okay. All right. Well, I won't tell you what else he used to put in it, but it was good. It was good. So, you got this book coming out, or that's already out called
Mhm.
Let's Get Into It. What inspired you to write the book?
Man, I think it's time, to have a physical book. I've produced ebooks, over the years, and every time, I would have someone reach out to me and say, "Hey, like, is there a physical version of this? Would love to have a physical copy." I feel like people, enjoy having a physical product in their hands and something that can last, through time. You never know, your internet could be down, or you might download it and you lose your laptop or something like that. But having a physical book in your hands that you can carry around, I feel like people value that tangible product. And I believe it was just time to put, all of my best recipes together and also create more and create an experience for people to, be able to look forward to, so basically having something that, is garnered towards, my niche of people with novice cooks, but there's something available for everyone, whether you've just started cooking a day or you've been cooking for 10 years, there's recipes in it for everyone, but we've broken it down so that, if you don't have but so much experience, you can have the comfortability in seeing a approachable recipe.
So I see here that you have, I mean, you've got an amazing following on social media, on Instagram, 1.7 million TikTok followers. I mean, how at what point did you say, okay, I'm ready to show the world how to do this?
Well, I feel like that's an ongoing conversation daily. We're having, this amazing support system that I have. I think, probably for the right reasons. I believe that, God allowed me to not be able to understand the magnitude of it. So every time that I approach something, I always look at it as, this is my first time doing it, so I feel like once I see people gravitate towards something I make it, it automatically makes me see like, okay, how can I do this to make this better for the next person? How can I continue, this momentum? And just always looking at it as, okay, if people are gravitating towards this and this is helping people and their families, then I got to keep going, So I feel like I kind of have that reset, every recipe I make and every recipe that I share, seeing the feedback of people making it and they're enjoying it with their loved ones, and that keeps me going.
I mean, it's amazing. Had a chance once to visit the New York Times, and I found out that the one subscription driver for that newspaper, I mean, they still print a paper, they do whatever, but it's their food section.
Mm-hmm.
People have a passion. I mean, they love food. Watching people cook, getting recipes and all of that. And what kind of feedback, because clearly it's the case for you as well. I mean, with all of these followers that you have, and you said the feedback, but what kind of feedback do you get?
A lot of it is, how it was able to affect, their families, people
Mhm.
telling me like, oh, I made this for my kid and, they're a picky eater, but they enjoyed it, that type of feedback that lets me know like, okay, whatever went into this, how this was prepared, this was able to not only allow, adults to enjoy it, but kids enjoy it. Kids are very picky eaters. So,
Well,
if a kid enjoys it, that's, my ultimate marker that, okay, we got one, so
mhm.
just feedback like that. I've also had it to where, different supporters have told me like, okay, like I see this recipe, but something went wrong here, then that makes me go into it and look like, okay, what can I do better to explain it? Because, if I made it, I'm confident in it, in the food itself, but there's something that I need to do to be able to explain it better, whether that's, making sure to highlight, using the metric system or breaking down into individual instructions, they give me feedback that helps me, be better. And, ultimately just once we're able to get it to where everything hits on all cylinders and everyone is enjoying it, that's when we know we got something.
Is there a favorite meal that you like to make? Meaning, is it breakfast food or is it dinner or snack food? What's your favorite sort of meal to jump into?
Mm, you know, I feel like it just depends on the mood I'm in for the day.
Yeah.
Like I love breakfast food, of course, but I can eat breakfast type of food at night as well. I'm notorious for making, like a good pancakes or, eating bacon and stuff at night. If I want a waffle or something like that, I feel like if it's good and I got a taste for it, I'll make it. Here lately, with us being in the fall season, I've been really enjoying, braised short ribs. That's
Mhm.
been like, a big thing for me, and just finding other different dishes to braise. I have a Dutch oven, so it's been, quite amazing to use. So, just if it's good, I'm in the mood for it, it's the right season for it, I'll make it.
I have to say, when I was going through some of the videos and I saw the braised short ribs, which, there are a lot of us out here that are not meat eaters, and I
Mhm.
was so disappointed because it looked so good. And then the next video was something you did do with salmon. It was
Yeah.
a salmon with the rice and or no, no, no. It was
With
I
the
don't.
marble, the miso
Yes,
and the
that was
broth.
it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go do that this weekend. That's amazing. It looked really, really good. And so that one of the things that you said, and you said it here today about home, and home cooking.
Mhm.
And, we've gotten away from that because people just don't have the time. they whatever, people have gotten away from it.
Yeah.
So it seems as though they have. Now what you're doing seems to, shoot that uh, belief away that people are actually interested in getting back into the kitchen. Is that what's your sense?
Yeah, for sure. I believe that the time and availability is still there. It's just about a shift of focus. I feel just in today's day and age, we're often distracted, with social media, what's going on in the world and things like that. Where if you think back, even as far as me, I'm still young. I'm only 27, but I could think back to my childhood,
Mhm.
before, social media really blew up. We still made time, to be around our family without, being on our phones and stuff like that. And it's so easy to find, one curious thing on your phone, and next thing you know, you're scrolling for hours, so the time is still there. It's just about a shift of focus. And then also being able to prepare, things in advance. Like in my book, I have different marinades that you can make with
Wow.
beef, with chicken, with salmon, these different things where you could prep this, the night before, a couple of days before, put it in the fridge, let it marinate. And then once you get home from work, you could throw it in the air fryer, pan sear, throw it in the oven, and you have something made in under a half an hour. So I really just think it just comes down to intention and, being conscious of it and wanting to do it. But, I believe people see the difference in a home cooked meal versus going out and getting fast food. Fast food is good, but nothing beats a home cooked meal.
Well, nobody asked me, but when they ask about, how do we end gun violence, you know what I say? What I like to say?
Where'd
A,
you like
ho-
it?
a home cooked meal.
For sure.
To the table. If there's food, they're gonna sit down and eat, right, together.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm really excited about the book. Now, how is the book divided? What do you created like certain
Yeah. So we
kind
have different sections. So, starting off, we have a section called, back to the basics. In
of
that section, we're teaching how to make, pan-seared chicken, pan-seared steak, pan-seared salmon, homemade fruit jams, like apple butter, how to make actual butter,
wow.
strawberry jam, grape jam, just different things to where, you can get that confidence in just learning some of the, the basics of, cooking and foundational recipes, to help you go along. So from there, then we go into, brunch category. I know brunch is really huge. One of my favorite recipes, in that section is called Billionaire's Beef Bacon.
Ooh.
So yeah, definitely doing a twist. A lot of people, definitely have eaten pork, but I know people are more and more transitioning away from pork, but still want something, that tastes, similar. And I feel like beef bacon, it really does the trick there. So having that in there was kind of a spice and a little sweet, type of bacon. I feel like a lot of people will enjoy that one. And then we have our entrees, we have sides, we have appetizers. We have a section called Food for the Soul. In that section, a lot of soul food, and some of my roots, from North Carolina. So some recipes that I grew up eating from there are in that section. We have desserts, we have breads. I basically formulated the book to where, it's essentially like having a restaurant at home, having a restaurant in your hands and having these different recipes that you can make, to be able to serve yourself and your loved ones.
Hmm. And I wish. Well, I don't want to say I wish, but I'm wondering if there was a section in there called "Food for the Furloughed." And I don't mean to make a joke out of that, but a lot of people are going through some really difficult times right now trying to access food, and with SNAP benefits, um, impacted by being able to get those benefits.
Mhm.
But what would you tell people who are listening that may be in that situation, and how they can budget to purchase, the items to make some of the things in your cookbook?
For sure. Well, first, my heart goes out to them, everyone, and it's not just those individuals that are affected. Someone like myself is affected as well, being in the food industry, that with that happening, that raises the prices of everything even more, and people don't realize that some people, look down upon it and just say like, oh, like those individuals that aren't going to have access to it, it just affects them, but they don't realize the actual effect that affects everyone that,
Correct.
just purchases food from the grocery store. So my heart totally goes out to them, and just kind of like my scoff that I did when you brought it up, was just because, just realizing just the times that we're in, and to where it's like you have no choice but to kind of laugh to get through, and just, be able to have faith and hope that everything will work out in the long run. But I definitely say with them, one thing that I found with myself and being able to grew up in a family that, did our best to, eat on a budget and find different things that, would be affordable and accessible. Being able to play around with different things. So when, like, if you're using, a dish with chicken, being able to find something that's like, of dark meat, you can make good dishes with dark meat that's on the lower inexpensive end. If you're making different dishes with beef, having something that's, maybe a cut of meat that might not have as much fat in it, with the marbling. So that's going to make it, less expensive, and, baking that in the oven and braising that, slow cooking these different dishes to still have a great dish. And I'll say just, being able to get creative with what you have, and, you're still able to make great dishes, even though I know the times that we're in, but just being able to budget as best as you can. And
Mm-hmm.
I know someone like myself and other people in my industry, we're looking to do what we can to be able to, support people, during this time. But, it won't last forever. Definitely just keep the faith, and, we're all going to get through this time together.
Yeah, I mean, not trying to joke, but coming up in, when I did, and that's where that spaghetti came from.
For sure.
know,
Exactly. Yeah.
make a big pot of spaghetti, you
Yeah.
got something to eat for 2 or 3 days, and
Right.
it got better. Why does that happen? Why does it get better the next day?
It's funny you say that, because that's definitely like my grandmother. She stood by that, how the spaghetti gets better, the longer it sits. And I think it's just because, when you're able to combine like the meat sauce, with the pasta, when you initially do it, yeah, it has a burst of flavor, but the longer and longer that sauce sits in with the pasta, the more flavor it develops. And I just think, a lot of dishes, flavor develops over time. So
Yeah.
you're allowing something to sit there. I look at it the same way as something was marinating. If you were marinating something in the fridge, the more flavor develops over time. I believe that same principle applies even when food has already been cooked. So I definitely feel like spaghetti is better, a couple of days afterwards.
Now, you may remember when I first looked at, while we were preparing for the show, and I first looked at your Instagram page, and I said, "Ooh, that banana pudding looks delicious."
Yeah.
And my mom, who's a regular watcher of a viewer of Let's Talk, just put in the chat, that banana pudding looks delicious.
Yeah, that's another recipe that was inspired by my family. My dad was the banana pudding maker in my family for many years, and actually it was just 2 years ago when I had developed my recipe. When I was working for the recipe in the book, I had made it when we were down in North Carolina. Had a family gathering, and I just wanted people to try it, because my dad, he didn't feel like doing it, and they kept asking for it, so he was like, Devon, like, I need you to go make it. So I had to go out, get the ingredients, and made everything on a whim. And, once I made it, let it sit, and people tried it, they demolished the pan. So that's how I got to be a
Yeah.
banana pudding maker. But yeah, banana pudding is an amazing dessert. I love it.
Yeah, my mother used to make the best banana pudding as a little kid, because I wasn't really much of a dessert eater, but
Mhm.
that I liked. I don't know why, and I don't like bananas. Isn't that weird? But
I get it. I get it. Banana pudding is pretty good, so I get it.
um, so you're gonna be. I know you're gonna have. I want to talk a little bit about that. Are you having a book launch here?
Yes.
Yes.
Tomorrow, actually, November 8th at 4 p.m., we'll be at the Barnes and Nobles located in Georgetown, where I'll be doing a book signing. So if anyone wants to come out, it's free to attend. Definitely would love to see everyone there. We'll be having a little conversation as well. So, they'll be asking me different questions. And if you want to ask me something personally, feel free. I'm just looking forward to meeting everyone, and just thankful for all the support thus far on this journey, and, and everything that's to come.
Two more questions for you. That's good. If we put that up, on the screen so people will know where to come. You're cooking. You keep talking about your dad cooking.
Mhm.
I want to talk a little bit about men who cook, and it seems like men who cook really cook well. But do you feel as though there's some kind of gift that men have in the kitchen that a lot of folks may have or may not have discovered?
I don't know. I can't really say. I feel like it just comes down to anyone versus, whether it be, male or, female, men or women. I feel like if you have a natural love for making good food, and you're making things with intention, and, having that, that love in it, I feel like anybody can make good food, whether it's men or women, but I
Right,
think
right.
like, I think when it comes to men, sometimes it's a surprise because, customarily, it's just, used to, women making a lot of great food. So when men do it and it turns out good, it gets highlighted a little bit. But
Oh
you can
yeah.
make good food, you can make good food.
It's almost like you stick your foot in it. Of course, I will say sometimes when you're done, there's like you need to call in the troops to clean the kitchen.
For sure.
I don't mean to say that. I'm sorry, but anyway, what's next? I mean, you've got the book out now. You've got all these followers. You've got people in their kitchens cooking food. What's next for Davon?
That's an amazing question. And I've thought about that for a while. I feel
Mhm.
like at this point where I'm in my life, I have accomplished a lot, and there's so much more that I feel like I can and will accomplish. But right now I'm just dependent on God. Wherever God takes me, that's where I go. So if this is the last time you see me, or you'll see me for years to come, it's whatever God wants. And I'm at peace with that.
Oh, I appreciate that. I really do. I just feel like maybe there's your audience, and I always say this is my last question, and I always ask another one. So I'm sorry, but I could
Oh,
talk to you.
good. Take your time.
I told you, but internationally, I mean, we don't really think about chefs of color from that I don't know, make food or promote it for the food that they make. There are a couple, there's chefs that we have in DC, and also restaurant tours in the area
Mhm.
that are from different countries. But have you explored any international cuisine?
Oh, certainly. I've
Mhm.
been really big on, getting to know more about African cuisine. So I don't have any recipes like that I've mastered just yet, but I've been trying more and more dishes. Of course, we've tried different Italian dishes and stuff over the years. That's always been popular, but I've been really developing a love for African cuisine here lately. So
Yeah.
definitely want to keep exploring that. And I've been able to build relationships with different African chefs and cooks, and just being able to learn from them, and hopefully I'll be able to have the opportunity to go over there myself and, be able to learn directly, from the people over there. So that's been piquing my curiosity here lately.
So one of the things that I've discovered is there's this battle of the jollof rice.
Yeah.
Make the best jollof rice. And so I know Devon's going to stick his finger in that one at some point and take the prize. Just a thought.
It's funny you say that because I've been doing research on that,
Yeah.
seeing, there are different versions of it from different, countries there, like the Senegalese, the Ghanaian, the Nigerian, I believe others as well. And I've tried Ghanaian and Nigerian. I haven't had the opportunity to try Senegalese yet, but I hear a lot of bias, saying that is the best because
Oh
that's where
yeah.
it originated. So I need to try there. But I've loved it all. I haven't eaten enough of it to be able to say like, okay, like this is for sure the best. Because I know people
Right.
who have their opinion on that, but definitely looking forward to trying more because it's super good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm waiting for that one. I'm going to see it in the next cookbook or one of your uh, talks on how to make
Sure.
it. 'Cause I have no idea. But I really want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for, um, encouraging us to get back into our kitchens, to know that we can take a little and make a lot, but really most importantly to bring family together.
For
I
sure.
like that. I like that. So, yeah, people now are getting ready in the chatter talking about rice.
Yeah, I see that they're saying Liberia was after Senegal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I can't
anyway,
argue. I'm not from there, so I can't argue, but I would take your word for it. Definitely would take your word for it.
wonderful. Well, thank you so very much for being with us. Good luck. I am definitely going to pick up the book because it's my cooking time is usually in the winter, not in the summer, and so it relaxes me. I guess it does that to you too, right?
For sure, for
It's a
sure.
safe
It has
place.
the stressful moments at times, but being able to make a great dish and to see people enjoy it, that means more to me than anything.
Well, I'm not cooking in front of 1.7 million people, so I don't have the stress that you have. So, um, but I will be watching.
Thank you. I appreciate all your support. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day. Thank you.
You as well. Take care.
All right. Yeah, I don't know about you all, and please don't go away too quickly, but I guess you can pick up your phone and check out Royal Eats at Royal Eats on Instagram. I didn't ask the TikTok address, but it's probably the same. And check out Davon. And I'm telling you, you're going to be drooling by the time you get past the second, actually the first. What do you call them? Instagram post. Yeah, because the food looks amazing. He makes it look interesting and easy to make, and looks like it tastes amazing as well. So I wish him the best of luck. I'm now going to bring on Sam P.K. Collins, our district reporter here. Is Sam with us? Yeah, hey Sam.
Happy Friday. How y'all doing?
Doing fine, doing fine. How are you?
Can't complain. It's been a very eventful week. I'll say that. Um,
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I mean, how so? I mean, I know the council passed a bunch of bills on resolutions on Tuesday. Give us a rundown.
no problem. There were a bunch of resolutions, of course, that were passed on the consent agenda. Attorney Nkechi Taifa, congratulations to her. She has been reappointed to the Corrections Information Council. But the story that was the story of Tuesday during a 3 hour or so council meeting was the extension of the emergency juvenile curfew powers that MPD Chief Smith used earlier this year to create curfew zones. There was a lot of debate on the dais. DC Council Member Janice Lewis, Georgia Ward 4, Brianne Nadeau of Ward 1, as well as Robert White and Trayon White at large in Ward 8, respectively, they voted against the extension, with Janice Lewis George being very adamant, or just being concerned about with the federalization of the police force through the mayoral order, uh, that federal troops or federal officers will have more contact with youth without any repercussion. That was the concern.
Mm.
And Christina Henderson, the at-large council member, even though she voted in support of the temporary extension, she, as well as Councilmember Trayon White and Councilmember Robert White, they were in search or questioning alternatives, or just add-ons that the executive, that being the mayor's office, as well as the deputy mayor for public safety, Lindsay Appiah, add-ons that they can institutionalize to create more opportunities for youth to play outside or to have safe spaces. Christina Henderson even mentioned um, grants for groups doing the work outside. And one more event in the council that I did include in the Collins DC Council report this week concerned what council members Zachary Parker and Matt Fruman advanced with 7 other council members. So for those of y'all who recall, the so-called Big Beautiful Bill advanced earlier this year, and with that came changes in tax policy that are very detrimental to the district economy. So what the council did on an emergency basis was decouple the local tax policy from the federal tax policy, which is estimated to produce $650 million in revenue generation for the district. What Councilmember Parker did and Matt Fruman did, what they did was create policy around where a portion of that would go towards the child tax credit. And now with that passage of the legislation, DC is a leader in allowing parents to have that tax credit around tax time. And we're talking about $1,000 in tax savings or tax refunds. So it's very pivotal what happened on Tuesday in the DC Council. Of course, there was a lot of talk around tax policy, around whether an elimination of a tax for seniors was definitely going to help the lowest of us. Beyond that, I wouldn't say not much else happened on Tuesday, but I will say that much of Tuesday's discussion centered around children and how best to help them.
Yeah, I noticed your headline, which I thought was really telling for the council report, is how are the children? And this event at Navy Yard, which many have watched and questioned, what precipitated that, how did it end? You see a snapshot of a video, but that seemed to have precipitated this extension of the of the what do you call it?
The emergency juvenile curfew. And
Exactly, right. And so what were people saying about that? I mean, was that sort of the straw that broke the camel's back, or was there other incidents or other things that have happened
that's a
that
beautiful
came
question.
into the conversation?
That's a beautiful question. A bit more context around that. So that encounter between the youth at Navy Yard and the National Guard happened on Halloween night, which was on last Friday. The day before that, DC Councilmember Brooke Pinto conducted a public hearing about the curfew, and we saw about 50 or so public witnesses, from what I recall, who were on both sides. They produced nuanced views about it. Some were against it. Some believed the curfew to be a solution, one of many solutions to tackle youth violence and to tackle youth being out in public spaces. But there's consensus to some degree that the curfew is necessary as long as it is brought on with additional resources for youth. Now, as far as what transpired on Friday, my understanding in reading reports from the DC police was that at certain times throughout the night, the youth were allowed to congregate in that public space. And at times, the police or the authorities in general, they did warn them against leaving certain spots or just acting raucously, if that's even a word. But at a certain point later on in the night, as the activity got more raucous and got more passionate, for lack of a better word, that's when the National Guard stepped in. And one point I do want to bring up, just out of deference to members of our community who love the children a lot, I do want to note that a lot of these youth, they were detained, but charges were dropped for most of them. So that's an aspect of the reporting that often gets left out. In this country, at least on paper, you are innocent until proven guilty. So when we do write about youth and anybody else being detained, it's essential that we talk about the judicial outcome in that. So that itself raises questions of what the National Guard was doing that night, if they were there to incite violence or to press the youth or to encourage them through trolling to act out in a certain way. So it just leaves a lot of room. And one point I do want to bring up is that the Bowser administration did introduce last week, or the beginning of this week, they introduced permanent legislation that would allow for the juvenile curfew as it stands currently to not be an emergency power, but to be one that the mayor can use at any time she deems necessary.
You know, and the other thing I think about is that when the curfew first a couple of years ago.
If I can bring up one more point just before,
Yeah.
you don't mind.
Go
So
ahead.
following the event on Halloween night, DC Mayor Bowser did announce a limited curfew that went on until Wednesday. So from November 1st up until the 5th, she had a limited curfew that extended the curfew hours quite a bit. My understanding was that it was limited in the sense that she was still within the bounds to do what she wanted to do, as far as, you know, carving out time for youth to not be on the street. But at the very same time, the Bowser administration does want something stronger. That's why the emergency was advanced, as well as the permanent legislation.
Well, she keeps saying, you know, that young people need to be held accountable. And you're right. I mean, I was in a conversation with a bunch of folks who thought back to their teen years, you know, 14, 15, 16, 17. And while we had curfews, you know, but they were, you know, parent home-based curfews, right? But it seems as though these curfews were set up in recent years to protect young people from the violence in the street, to protect them. Today, these curfews seem to be more to protect other people from young people. And the way that it's expressed, it sounds that way as well. In any of those, in that public forum, were there any young folks that testified that you are aware of?
Yes, there was a young brother who testified. He is a member of Guns Down Friday. Guns Down Friday being an organization that is immersed in the community. This young brother, he has to forgive me. His name definitely escapes me at the moment. Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie did mention this young brother's testimony during Tuesday's legislative meeting, And he spoke in recounting that testimony. The young brother spoke about losing 7 friends in his adolescent years. The young brother is still in high school, relative pretty young. And at this point in his life, he's lost 7 friends, the youngest of them being 11 years old. And he was in support of the curfew, but in giving his support, he said that that's not the end all be all.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the sentiment among a good number of DC residents from what I saw in the hearing. A bit more nuanced than what people those on the extreme sides of the situation are saying, but it appears that as time goes on, more people, particularly youth, are embracing to some degree the curfew. But there still remains the issue of what part do the federal agents play in this? With the federal agents being alongside MPD, and from what I learned, having access to radio and being able to descend at the scene of an alleged crime at any time, what factor do they play? Because DC residents or those who are encountered by the federal police officers, there are no accountability measures that they can tap into through MPD. They would have to go through the federal government. And given who's in the White House right now, we can only think about how futile that is. So that's still a concern that's just hovering over this whole issue. But there does seem to be some consensus around the need for some type of curfew, along with activities and spaces, late night spaces where youth can gather.
Right, right, right. Which is one reason why, we celebrate the Boys and Girls Club over here on Mississippi Avenue that still has its midnight basketball program that goes on. But, there are not a lot of young people that go there, but it is a safe place and they provide food and all kinds of things. So I think part of what we'll be doing at the Informer is looking at some of those places and spaces that are opening up, if they are, for young people to go to. But it seems like every time there's a place, it gets shut down for some reason. So, and I don't need to say for some reason, but it gets shut down. We kind of know why certain things happen. This tax credit, I think, is interesting. And I don't know who pushed that piece of legislation.
Oh, that was Councilmember Zachary Parker. And the legislation actually passed, but it wasn't funded, or I guess it wasn't included in the finalized FY26 budget. So Mayor Bowser did not include it in her proposal. And the council, for those who don't recall, given the district's precarious economic situation between losing revenue and between the continuing resolution situation earlier this year, the council had a long list of budgetary priorities that they were trying to tackle. And they had meetings among themselves as well as public hearings to try to decipher which ones could be included in the finalized budget and which ones couldn't. So the child tax credit didn't quite make the mark, as well as I would say healthcare restoration or changes to the healthcare eligibility requirements that were narrowed. So this was an opportunity on an emergency basis to make up for that just in time for tax season.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, so we got to make sure that people know this when they're going to file their taxes. Hopefully it'll be on the form, because normally, it's there, I guess, or would be there. That question, is it per child?
That's a great question. I'm not entirely clear on that. What I can tell you, though, is that the Office of the Chief Financial Officer, as well as other entities within the DC government, do need time to prepare for that tax credit question in the facilitation of those funds.
Wonderful. We'll be having the CFO on the show coming up soon. So that's one of the things we'll explore with him. But talking about legislation, I know that we wanted to talk, and we want to continue to talk about this ranked choice voting. So we're going to, even though residents of the District of Columbia voted for it in a referendum, people are still scratching their heads saying, what is it? What do we have? And so we want to make this like ranked choice voting 101 that we will stick with for a while. But what would you say to folks now about whether this is going to actually show up in June or not? And if so, what do folks need to know?
Well, it's been funded, that portion of I-83. Of course, the open primaries part, not so much, but we're focused on ranked choice voting. So the facilitation of that is totally up to, at this point, the Board of Elections. Advice I would have for residents in anticipation of the election season in 2026, please fill in all the bubbles. Because my understanding is that when you don't rank all of the candidates on the ballot, there is a likelihood that your ballot gets canceled out. So, and like that was a concern among those who were against I-83.
Mm-hmm.
That's the confusion around how to tackle that. 'Cause they call those undervotes. So it's about just educating people around that. It varies state to state, but my research and my interviews point to that being a pressing concern, where folks who are not well versed on how to do ranked choice voting, when they just rank their favorite candidates and not everybody on the ballot, those votes are more likely to get pushed out. And that's not saying PK Collins talking; those are researchers talking, and that's testimony that I've gathered in the course of writing these stories.
So you're saying if you don't fill out a vote in every category, that your ballot could be discounted? It could be thrown out, the entire ballot? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. So in an instance, so let's say, for example, you have 5 candidates on the ballot, and through ranked choice voting, you go through different levels until the person gets 50% of the vote. It's incumbent upon the voter to fill out the entire ranked choice voting ballot. So out of those 5 candidates, you can't say, I'm going to rank this one first, this one second, this one third, and leave the other 2 blank. You got to rank all 5.
Wow. 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 Okay. All right. I mean, they're making voting, real participatory. You have to participate all in, because and then, there's some, I don't know, this is what I was thinking you were saying at first, Sam, that, sometimes people know who they want for a particular seat, right? So I'm going to vote for mayor, but I don't know the people that are running for, let's say, at large, just to throw that out there.
Exactly.
So I'm just not even going to vote for them because I don't know who they are, but I might go down and vote for my council member. Is that going to affect your ballot?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, so
it might affect that part that you didn't vote for, but not the entire ballot.
Okay, all right. That's what I was trying to make sure that you weren't saying. That's why I thought I would bring that up. So, but if you do vote for, let's say, all those candidates that are running for mayor, you have to rank all of them.
That's my understanding, yes.
Or else that vote won't count either.
Exactly, because how the system works is that if by any chance your top choice is the lowest, if by any chance your top candidate accumulates the least votes, they get eliminated, your vote then goes to the second place candidate on your ballot.
Mm-hmm.
And then that whole process repeats itself until one of the candidates accumulates 50% of the vote. So that's why automatically it's important for you to fill out the entire ballot, rank all of the candidates underneath that seat that they're running for.
Mm-hmm. And so will this require more than one voting cycle? Let's say that's the other part I don't understand. If you vote, if election day is June the 12th, and now no one has that 50%. So do you have to go back to the polls and vote again?
Again, my understanding is that you would go through a cycle where people get eliminated in different rounds until the victor accumulates at least 50% of the vote. Mm-hmm. So theoretically, all of that's supposed to be settled within that electoral cycle.
Okay.
So because as each person gets eliminated in each round, the field of candidates narrow. So you're going to get down to the last 2. And then between that, somebody's got to get more than 50%, hopefully.
Right, right. But does it is that and I know we're gonna end up having the Board of Elections with us as well, assuming that this is gonna be the case in June. We certainly want all of DC voters. We want to play our part, our role in making sure that all of DC voters know what they're going to face in June and will know, not have questions like I do about how this is going to work. So I won't get too deep into the weeds right now, but I think that you've said enough to let people know that they need to pay attention to what's going to, not only the candidates, and briefly, I want to talk about that.
Yes,
but not only the candidates, but how that election process is going to take place. But speaking of candidates for positions, it is filling up, like popcorn. Are you? Is that what you're seeing?
I am. So the war. Let's first of all, the mayoral race. DC Mayor Bowser hasn't quite hinted directly at whether she'll jump in for re-election, but Janice Lewis George, the Ward 4 council member, the Washington Post said that she told them that she was running. She hasn't quite said as much on record with Kojo Nnamdi and Tom Sherwood, but for now, among most of us in the press corps, it's safe to say that she's a candidate. There are also ruminations of at-large council member Kenyon McDuffie at least exploring the possibility of running. So those are the top three right now. As far as Ward 1, we have we have Rashida Brown. First of all, for Ward 1, for those who have been out the loop, Councilmember Brianne Nadeau, currently in her third term, she is not running for re-election. She has thrown her support behind Rashida Brown, an advisory neighborhood commissioner out of the Howard area and around what people call 640 on Georgia Avenue in DC. So she's coming out of that. There are other candidates. I want to pull them up for y'all. There's at least two more I want to give y'all. Oh my goodness.
So let me ask you: has the time to get petitions and all of that? Is the Board of Elections putting those out now? Or are these just people that are just saying, or getting the word out that this is something that they want to do? I know I've seen some who already are beginning to campaign, but they don't become qualified candidates until they fulfill that signature.
Exactly. Right now, it's just campaign launches, sort of preemptive, but as we've seen throughout electoral history in DC, a lot of people have jumped into the ring very early.
Mm-hmm.
Very early.
All right. Yeah. And then
my apologies, just real quick, and you got to forgive me for the memory lapse, but we do have also, as announced as candidates, Brian Footer. He is a colleague of Ms. Brown on the ANC. We also have Terry Lynch, a longtime resident and activist. We have a tenant organizer, Aparna Raj, and we also have Jackie Reyes Yanez. She was the former director of the Mayor's Office of Latino Affairs. So that's what Ward 1 is looking like. Not much about Ward 5 and Ward 6 just yet. On the at-large side, as far as the Democratic Party is concerned, there are at least three people going for DC Councilmember Anita Bonds' seat. We have Laniqua Dominique. Oh my God. Laniqua Dominique Jenkins, forgive me. She's running for the seat, as well as Shadow Representative Oye Owalewa. And last but not least, we got the Ward 4 Democrats President Candace. Such a brain fart today. Please forgive me. I'm not like this.
Well, I didn't prepare you to give names. It was just a number of folks that have jumped out in those races. But I mean, you're giving shout out, so you can't stop now.
No doubt. Candace Tiana Nelson, you got to forgive me. You got to forgive me, Miss Nelson. Please forgive me. But Candace Tiana Nelson, Oye Owolewa, and Laniqua Dominique Jenkins, they count among at least three. We got some coming later on, most likely, but they are vying for the Democratic at-large council seat, which is currently held by Councilmember Anita Bonds. Now, Councilmember Bonds has not announced her intentions to run for re-election, but I was told by her office that she will likely be making an announcement toward the end of this calendar year.
Wow. Okay. All right. And then of course there's the congressional seats as well. And I know they have put their names out there for Congresswoman Eleanor Holden's, to run, either replace her, run against her, whatever the term would be. So I think there are a couple of folks that are in the.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
So of course you got your Robert Whites, Councilmember Robert Whites, Councilmember Brooke Pinto. Those are the big two, of course. Long before that, you had Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner Michael Kelly Williams, whose single member district is right by the Informer. You have State Board President, at-large Representative Jacques Patterson, and you also have Kimon Freeman, who's running on the Green Party ticket once again.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sam, I hope you're taking your energy drinks, because it's going to be a busy season, not only from that, but just what's happening with the council. I want folks to know that the Collins DC Council Report is a newsletter that you can sign up for. You'll be able to sign up on the website. Of course, go to the website and check out all of the stories that Sam will be filing each and every week to keep up to date on what's happening in our city, with our local government, our local elected officials. So I want to thank you for being with us. It was last minute, but I'm glad that you were able to jump on. And we're going to do this. We'll let the viewers know how regularly we're going to do this, because like you said, this was a busy week, but it's going to be a busy end of this year and the beginning of next year. I'm pretty sure. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
All righty. So again, that brings us to the close of this week's broadcast of Let's Talk on WIN TV. I want to thank you for watching. We're reminded how journalism, literature, and community life intersect to shape our conversations and our city. I want to give a big thanks to Davon Moseley of Royal Eats, whose upcoming book, Let's Get Into It, dropped on Tuesday, but we'll be doing a book signing this weekend, and who reminded us that food, family, and storytelling are powerful connections. And now I'm not sure if we're still going to do the Dancing with the Scholars program, but if so, please take a look at that. And also join us on Tuesday, November the 11th, when we plan to have a special show honoring veterans in the DC area and some historical figures who are being honored as well. So again, that's Tuesday at noon. Until then, have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay warm, and keep reading the Washington Informer. We appreciate you. Have a good day. I'm extremely proud to highlight a local institution that embodies the spirit of empowerment. It's the William O. Lockridge Community Foundation. They're no strangers to Let's Talk, but they are always doing things that we want to share with our viewers. Founded in 2011 in the memory of the late William O. Lockridge, an educator, activist, and advocate for students in Wards 7 and 8. The foundation has awarded over $500,000 in scholarships to local high school seniors, but its impact doesn't stop there. Through its International Ambassadors Program, students have traveled 5 African nations that include Cameroon, Ghana, Benin, Madagascar, and Angola. Some of us haven't been out of DC, but these kids have been across the Atlantic Ocean to their native lands on the continent of Africa. And they've gone, as I said, to connect with their heritage and develop a global perspective. The foundation's U.S. Foreign Service Initiative further opens doors to careers in international affairs, preparing young people for leadership on the world stage. And as the foundation gears up for its 15th annual Dancing with the Scholars Gala on November the 8th, I was going to say 18th, but on November 8th. Remember, I said on November 8th. And this year's theme is District of Champions. We're going to take a minute just to reflect on the William O. Lockridge's legacy and the remarkable work being done in his name. So joining me today is Wanda Lockridge, chair of the William O. Lockridge Community Foundation, and one of the foundation's outstanding ambassadors, Madison Mackey, who represent the next generation of scholars, leaders, and change makers. Madison, who was a Lockridge Foundation student ambassador to Benin in 2022, graduated last May from McKinley Tech. And she's still traveling. She's taking us to circles right now.
Sorry, guys.
You're looking good, Madison. You're looking good.
Thank you.
And she is now in the U.S. Army. Wow, awaiting deployment in December for Fort Jackson in South Carolina. Congratulations to you, Madison.
Thank you, Miss Denise.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. And welcome, Wanda Lockridge.
Thank you so much for having us. How are you today?
Oh, hey, it's a great day in the city, and especially when we can have such wonderful news that both of you all are sharing with us, not only about the Lockridge Foundation, but also the scholars, the young scholars that you all bring and share with us on Let's Talk. So, Wanda, I'm going to start with you. Again, some have heard the story, but we can't hear it enough. What motivated you to establish the William O. Lockridge Foundation?
Thank you, Denise, for that. But before I get started with that, I have to tell you that every time I hear that introduction song, I start to move a little bit. It always keeps me moving. So how we started the foundation, we had no plans. It wasn't be a foundation. My husband, the late William Lockridge, passed in January of 2011. And so we really just wanted to do, William actually started before going to elected office as a teacher at Volusia High School. And so one of the things we wanted to do that year, it was just to give a scholarship to a student there, just in William's honor. Because I didn't want to do flowers, they die, and there was no impact to it. So that one year, that first year, 2011, we gave 4 $1,000 scholarships. I thought that was it. I was on moving about my business, and family and friends said, Wanda, this is something that we need to continue to do. And so from that time to today, again, as you stated, we've awarded over like $500,000 in scholarships. And that's how we got started.
That's amazing. And you're doing something in a community that greatly needs this kind of support, young people that need this kind of support, but not only the support, but the exposure that you're giving to them when it comes to international affairs. I mean, how does that tie into William's legacy?
That's a really good question. So exposure is everything. And so some of the things that we learn when we go to the continent, you don't learn in school. And William was an advocate for education, period. And so closing that gap was something that was important to me. I started going to Africa. I was a young adult even. I mean, I didn't have the opportunities that some of our young people have today. And I fell in love with the continent. And I came back with the passion that it's important for our young people to see Africa from their own lens. And so it connects because it's not just a trip on a continent. It is a number of things. It is soft skills. It is public speaking. It is writing. It is learning about your history. It is connecting all of that so you know who you are. It's been amazing to hear some of our students, and you will hear Madison later talk about the experience and how it's impacted their lives since they've returned from the continent, how it's been impactful for them, and how it's just really changed their trajectory. And so bringing all that together, still in education, that's our mission, is to closing the gaps with students in Ward 7 and 8. If you live in Ward 7 or 8, or you attend a school in Ward 7 or 8, we want to be able to touch you. We want to be able to give you that exposure. Because the other thing that I said, without that exposure, you don't know what you don't know. And so to be able to be exposed to the international careers, you can be an ambassador even. And so there's so many other opportunities out there, just giving our students the opportunity to explore them.
Yeah, I like that. I'm Madison in a second. But you talked about, so we're talking about the International Ambassadors Program and the U.S. Foreign Service Initiative, and I know that they're both interrelated. But talk about what that means, and students that qualify for this, and what are some of the things that they are exposed to.
Absolutely. So the U.S. Foreign Services, I think we're in our 4th year, maybe 4 or 5 years now. And so it's a 6-week program which begin to expose young people to international careers. So we talk about diplomacy. We talk about Africa travel tourism, what the culture looks like. We talk about international trade, the environment, and all of those things. And even though you may want to invest in that, you can do that anywhere. You can do that on the continent. You can do it international. So we are able to expose them to those type of careers. We have speakers from the White House. We have speakers from the State Department and so in another administration. So we'll stop there. But yeah, they expose, and then there's a networking piece because they can also begin to reach out to these individuals who've spoken to them that's from the State Department, from aid, from the White House, and to talk about those careers. And what happens from that 6-week program, the students who are engaged, who that's really have an interest in Africa, they then have an opportunity to go into the International Ambassadors Program. And so it's an interview process. Depending on fundraisers, that we determine the number of people, students that we're able to take every year.
So, but Madison Mackey, you had the opportunity, or you took advantage of the opportunity. That's what I think is so exciting. Tell them to cut the microwave off. You're on TV. But at any rate, I'm just messing with whomever in the background. But you took advantage of this opportunity, and you went with the program to Benin.
Yes.
In West Africa. Tell us, one, why did you decide to become engaged, and what are your memories from that trip?
Well, at the beginning, I was a little hesitant from doing it because that's far from my mom. That's really far from my mom. Like she can't just drive there, catch a flight. That's far. That was a day and a half to get there. That's far. So at first I was hesitant, and then I got accepted, and then we read a book. I forgot what the name was.
Was it the woman? Not the Woman King, but it was.
I'm trying to think. I don't remember.
Came from. Okay, I don't remember.
But yeah, she made us read a book, and so when I read the book, I was like, I do need to explore the world a little bit. So we went, and it was just a very, very enlightening experience, and it made me realize that like I don't take advantage of the stuff that I have. Like I'm grateful, but I'm not grateful enough. Like I'm not out here exploring, taking trips, talking to new people, meeting new people. So with this opportunity, I was like, okay, came back home, started exploring, met new people, started being a little bit more diverse perspective in life. So
now it's
it
me.
was
Sorry.
It was a very eye-opening experience. So I continue to engage with Ms. Wanda and Mr. Austin so that I can keep my network and be privy to certain things like dancing with the scholars. So
you're going into the military.
yes.
Did this trip have any influence over your decision to do that? Talk about that.
So I had 2 reasons why I did it. Right now, I'm not 100%. I'm kind of sure what I want to do, but I'm not 100% positive. So I knew going this route, I would have some type of career in or outside of it. And also free travel. Free travel. So,
and where did you graduate? What school?
McKinley Tech.
McKinley Tech. Okay. All right. And some of your McKinley classmates have gone with you as well. You want to shout out some?
No, I don't think they went with me. I know Logan and Amber were Madagascar. I know his name isn't Antonio, but I forgot the other kids from this summer's name. But I know Amber and Logan went.
If you were to tell other students why it's important to participate in this program, what would you tell them? What would you stress?
What I told Logan and Amber is this is an experience that you need. You need to see different things in the world. You will never get another experience for an all-paid trip. You really won't. It's not. They don't come as often as we think they do. So this is your time to take advantage of it and get the experience and meet new people and start making connections, because connections are everything nowadays.
Last question about that, though. Also, if I'm not mistaken, Benin is a French-speaking country.
Yes.
How did you manage to communicate, particularly with some of the young people there?
That was a little hard. That was really hard. I didn't do my Duolingo like we were supposed to. So me and one of the other students that went with me, Amir, we were friends with some of the students from Benin. Miss Wanda made sure that there were, I think it was 6 other kids that were from there. So we kind of talked in English. They taught us a little bit of French. I still talk to one of the kids, Lucky, from time to time, but we talked, but it was a little difficult. Like, we understood, but we didn't understand.
Right. No, that's wonderful, Wanda. I mean, in order to do this, of course, you have to fundraise. It's not like, you're sitting like some other folks on multi-millions of dollars to support this program. You need the support of the community. So this event, your annual Dancing with the Scholars, tell us about how that evolved and what folks can look for this year.
Yeah. So this year, it's so hard to believe that we're doing this for the 15th time. November 8th, we are 15 years old doing this, and I'm pretty excited about the lineup that we have this year. So Dancing with the Scholars, as you said, we need to do this program. And this is the only fundraisers that we do in the course of the year to promote all the programs that we talked about earlier. The U.S. Foreign Services Initiative, Dancing with the International Ambassador Program. We have a program, an emergency assistance fund. So if there's a student in school and they need emergency assistance, we offer that to them as well as a scholarship. So this came about, we were trying to figure out what kind of fundraiser we would do per year. And, often we have fundraisers where there's a sit down dinner, there's dancing, and there's this huge bill that comes at the end. And so we were like, if it's a fundraiser, we need the funds to support the program. So we decided not to do a sit down dinner, but we wanted to do something fun that was family oriented, that they could come out into the community. So Dancing with the Stars at the time was really popular. And again, I have to give kudos to Emily Washington, who was a teacher at Ballou Senior High School, that came up with the term scholars. And that's how we came up with the name Dancing with the Scholars. And so this year, as you said, it's District of Champion. I have to say, I was the name came about because the commanders were coming back home. And I was like, we should do something around the commanders. I have board members that are Dallas Cowboy fans and all this other stuff. So I don't know what happened there, but we decided to just call it the District of Champions. So we are I'm so happy to honor Coach Mike. It's at Johnson Middle School.
Oh, yes.
He is amazing. His students that play on his team must have at least a 3.0 average. They have been number 1, number 2 in the region in the U.S. And so it's time for us to just recognize our unsung heroes. So he will be honored this year. For the first time, we have co-chairs. So Donna Cooper, who was a former vice president of PepCo, and A. Scott Bowden, who's a senior partner at Reed Smith. They are our co-chairs this year. Baloo, Anacostia, and Kit will be performing again. I think Baloo has won 2 years, so they coming back and trying to, gain that championship title. But we'll see what happens, and we are really excited. It is November 8th. It's a free event this year. It is free event. So we're just want our families to come out, cheer on their team, come out, have a good time with their families, and help us to support our programs and our seniors, as Madison as one of them that you've met earlier today.
Well, you say a free program, but if you love the work of the William O. Lockridge Foundation, and if you love young people like Madison, then a love offering is what folks are looking for. How can we continue to support this program and these young people, not with a free program necessarily, but you want to come and see, but I'm sure you are taking advantage of opportunities, or want people to take advantage of the opportunity to support the program. Now, if you don't come, we have the information on the screen, but for those who may not be able to come, how can they still support what you all are doing?
We love that. Yes, a love offering is definitely welcome all the time. You can go to our website and make a donation. The website is www.williamlockridgecommunityfoundation.org, and you see our IG and our Facebook. You can reach out to us. You can mail checks to us. You can send it. We absolutely need all the support to support our young people in Ward 7 or 8, where education can just be open to them and experiences can be open to them. So all the support will be welcome. We would love to see you in the house at the Ark. However, as Ms. Barnes said, if you're not able to, a love offering is always welcome. So
and let's get the address of the Ark.
The Ark is 1901 Mississippi Avenue in Southeast Washington, D.C., 20032. Wonderful. We would love to have you there. You can also register for tickets at, I don't know if we have it here on the screen, but I can tell you can also go to the website that I mentioned and you can register there, but you can also go to tinyurl.com/DWTSX5 for Dancing with the Scholars 15.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Madison, now the Lockridge Foundation is going to try to figure out how they can keep you engaged, or have you already thought about that? What is your future with the foundation, and what does your future look like?
My future with the foundation, it stands as it is. Whenever Miss Lockridge calls, I come. I'm never going to tell her no, but my future, it looks bright. It just looks bright right now.
That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Madison, I have to tell you that I'm super proud of you and all that you do, and the growth that I see every single day.
Thank you.
Yeah. How old were you when you went to Benin? Okay, we won't ask the point now where we don't ask, your ages, but you are now in the U.S. military, so you're old enough to do that, and you're about to be what is the word? You're moving, shipped away or something? Where are you going?
I'm going to Fort Jackson. That's located in South Carolina. I forgot which part.
Okay. And do you have a job? I don't know military talk that well, but
not yet. I'm still trying to figure out which one I'm going to pick.
Okay. All right. Well, me, I'm going to plug communications. You would be a great spokesperson for the military if folks will decide to recognize the great work that women can do in the military. So, but you approve them. You approve them. Right. Well, anyway, I don't want to hold you all. I know you have things to do today, but I want to thank you for taking time and, to have this inspiring conversation about the William O. Lockridge Foundation and the way it continues to invest in our youth, who are the future of our city and the world. So, I, just want to say thanks for being here, and hope you have a wonderful program, Wanda, and God bless both of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for always, and Washington Informer always highlighting the work that we do. I do not take it lightly, so it's much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Well, like we say here, we want to spread the good news, and that's what you're giving us, is good news to spread. So thanks again.
Thank you all so much. Have a blessed day.
All right, you too.
Thank you.
All right.